Alrighty, welcome to episode 227 of Tokwa's Ask Us Anything. As usual, it's been a pretty busy news week. Following on from Elon Musk's confirmation that the more affordable model Tesla is planning to release later this year is, quote, just a Model Y, video has emerged confirming some of the new model's price-saving modifications. Some of the most significant changes include a metal roof instead of glass, unified head and running lights, rear light bar deleted with the reflection panel replaced by a painted body panel, cup holder cover and forward storage deleted, rear screen deleted, and seat ventilation removed. And that was this week's news. Indeed it was, and welcome once again to the program. And obviously there were quite a few other items of news, notwithstanding an entire quarterly earnings call, but we'll get into that shortly. But before we do, as is always customary, if there is anyone who is new and is comfortable in doing so, please unmute and say hello. Or perhaps might do that a little bit later on. Oh, and also an apology. Last week, I actually ended the program in, I don't know what you call it in Radio Land, it's like a hard stop. That was inadvertent. I didn't think the stop button would work, and I sort of just was compelled just to try it immediately. And yeah, so apologies for that hard ending last week. Uh, Alrighty, would anyone like to kick off the program with a question or comment?
Sounds like the new affordable Model Y is going to be the one of choice for the robotaxi. Nice cheap version.
Actually, it's funny you say that, John. Actually, I think that's the opposite. So, one of the
Okay.
cost saving measures that let's call it the more, it, it's not the larger version, it's just a cheaper version. It doesn't have a rear screen. And
Oh, will that make all the difference? Yeah.
so, but having said that, you don't need a rear screen because all of the functions of the Robotaxi during your ride can be done through the
They're on the app.
Robotaxi app. Yeah, so
Hmm.
and the thing is, Tesla are in an interview with Lars Moravy at the X Takeover event, which I think was in, oh, I could be wrong, LA. I think it was in LA. He sort of indicated that Robotaxi would really start production. Sorry, Cybercab. So the Cybercab, which is the two-person dedicated vehicle, the gold vehicle, that would actually start production. There's an implication it would be by the end of this year, which is only, less than 6 months,
Yeah.
5 months actually. So really, it although it makes a lot of sense for Tesla to implement robo taxis using Model Ys, the refreshed Model Ys at this stage, because you need to have a a supervising driver, sorry, a supervising passenger, or in the case of California, which is coming up anytime soon, a supervising driver. And there's some interesting nuances there, which we can get into a little bit later on. Once that's all sort of gone through that process, you really don't need anyone supervising, and therefore Tesla would probably just wait and go straight to the Cybercab rather than a
Okay. Yeah.
reduced price Model Y. But what's interesting with the Model Y now, because Elon Musk did say at the earnings call, and he basically said, spoiler alert, it's a Model Y, is for those of us who are older than, say, about 40, you'll remember Ford had a Falcon, a Fairmont, and Fairlane, say. And you could think of the current Model Y as the Fairmont. So that's sort of got all the nice features which the current refreshed Model Y has. The Falcon is really what we saw in the news tonight, which is the cut down version, still the same size. And then in fact the Model Y L, which is the longer stretched version, you could think of as a Fairlane, and it almost literally just is stretched by. I think in the Fairlane's case, it was about a foot or maybe even a bit less, and that gave you more room and more features. And it seems that that's what Tesla is focusing on as far as the more affordable vehicle. The stripped down one is more affordable because it's literally cheaper as a five door, and the stretched Model Y is a more affordable version of the Model X, which sort of brings into question the long term viability of the Model X. So that seems to be at this stage what Tesla's strategy is.
But in terms of the ideal car for robotaxi, it's obviously going to be the Cybercab because that's been from the ground up designed for robotaxi rides. And the one thing that's going to matter the most for any robotaxi service will be the cost per mile. And on this earnings call, Elon mentioned that for the Model 3 or Model Y, the cost per mile will be around 50 cents per mile US, whereas for the Cybercab, it will probably be half that, so closer to 25 cents per mile. And there's also a reason why it's only a two-seater, because 90% plus of Uber rides or taxi rides are for one or two passengers. So you basically don't need a four or five-seater for more than 90% of the rides. So why make a five-seat robotaxi? Just doesn't make sense.
Exactly. Colin,
Hi.
you've got your hand. Sorry, Colin, you got your hand up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask if anyone else is having noticeably more issues with their phone reconnecting to the car via Bluetooth in the last few weeks.
Yes. One thing I notice, I'm not sure whether this is your issue, but one thing I notice is if I'm on a phone conversation, on a phone call, I then hop into my car, I then start driving. I'm often talking to the person it's a two-way conversation, but I'll be talking, and then at the end of my sentence, I don't get an answer or I don't hear an answer, and it's because the car has actually disconnected or the phone is disconnected from the car's Bluetooth, and it's actually the rest of the conversation was undertaken by talking to the phone's microphone, and of course the car speakers aren't hooked up to the phone, so even though that person could hear what you said, you don't hear their reply, and that's happened in the last few weeks, Colin. I don't know if is that what you're talking about?
I've just noticed, like up until probably maybe 3 weeks ago or something, so it's probably the last software update. I very rarely had to bring up the Bluetooth menu and go, connect to that phone. It would just do it. Whereas I've noticed probably 90% of the times I've got into the car in the last few weeks, I've had to manually go and connect it. Even if I got out of the car 5 minutes earlier, I get back in and it just doesn't automatically seem to be doing it. So I just wanted to see if anyone else was having that. And if it is, it's probably a software thing that they'll fix. But
Are
Curious,
you
iPhone or
iPhone,
Samsung? Okay.
are
I have
you
Android, not having issues.
yeah. Okay.
are you doing it by yourself? Are you the sole passenger of the car when
Yeah,
you do that? Okay,
most of
yeah,
the
cool.
time.
Yep, yep.
And yeah, I've checked everything. It's, that my phone is the priority for my profile and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, just I've really noticed a real step change in the number of times I'm having to manually connect it. So
I did have
Maybe
a
try and disconnect it. So try and consciously completely disconnect it. So get the phone to forget the car because it's connecting to the car. So get it to forget the car and reconnect and see if that helps.
yep. All right.
sorry.
Paul.
Yes.
Oh,
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, Mike.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry, Mike. I'll get to you straight after Paul.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry to go back to the robotaxi thing. But it prompted my mind when we were talking about that on Elon's interview for the X takeover, he was talking about like the Cybercab, and then if you wanted four seats, you would order a Model 3, and then if you wanted 6 seats, you would order a Model Y. So I'm sort of thinking this new affordable one isn't going in at all. I'm thinking
Mm.
that might have been their sort of thought process sort of thing. I don't know. It was just, when Elon starts talking and he just sort of says, he just
What
sort
he
of
thinks.
leaves these, yeah, exactly. So I sort of wonder, but I think that new affordable one, if it's like with a metal roof, will probably sell quite well anyway. So I was hoping it'd be a smaller Model Y, not the same size.
Yeah, and I think to be honest, you're probably not going to save a lot in
Mm.
material cost. And in fact, the material cost is the cheapest part of the car.
Yeah.
It's the effort to transform it into a car.
Mm.
So if they shortened it by, say, 30, 40 centimeters, they'd have to basically rebuild all the castings and all
Yeah.
that sort of stuff. And it's like, maybe they've worked out if we just decontent it, and
Mm.
clearly the glass roof is expensive. I mean, it looks great. It's many car manufacturers are going down this route. There are some sort of synergies whereby the glass roof it's no less fragile than a metal roof in the sense of it's quite rigid until it breaks, but it is more expensive. But I guess
Yeah.
they've worked out the features out do the benefits in that premium market. Bearing in mind, I think most people don't realize the Model 3 and the Model Y, they're really not economy sedans. They are really premium sedans. So by decontenting it, and they'll get rid of some things which you wouldn't think would be very expensive, such as the front storage. So where you've got your cups on the refreshed Model Y, there's a slider that slides over the cup holders. Well, that's no longer there because there is no storage forward of the cup holders. There's like a void, which actually
Mm.
was similar to the old Model S's. The original Model S's didn't have any storage past the armrest or past the cup holders. So I don't know whether those savings are really saving much more than hundreds of dollars. But then you've got the steel roof, or not steel, sorry, metal. It's probably aluminium. That's probably saving a fair bit of money. And then I'm not sure about why you combine your light back into a single cluster, getting rid of that reflective diffuser
Mm.
for the afterburner, so-called the back linear rear light. I mean, that's clearly got to save some money. It's almost like this will be the less profitable model. So Tesla won't have the same margins. And it's just the same as Ford did with the Falcon, Fairmont, Fairlane, and then in fact they had an LTD, which was even more premium. So maybe Tesla's just angling it to get it into it to grow their total addressable market for actually what Lars Moravia was sort of implying would almost be sort of the last lot of cars that are somewhat manually driven. I mean, he did refer to that as the Roadster, saying that we should really make the world's best driving car because after that it's all about autonomy. But yeah, it's interesting. So they're not. It doesn't look like at this stage Tesla's going to concentrate on a subcompact, like a really small car. And I guess
That's
maybe
a
they've
shame.
worked out you just don't need to bother. Let others do that, and you know they'll be fine.
I would have loved a hot hatch. It would have been cool.
We'll just have a hot sedan. Geez, I mean,
Well, I do,
sometimes
but
people had to get hot hatches because you had to get power to weight ratio, and that
yeah,
was easier on a hot hatch. But
yeah.
when your sedan's got 1,000 horsepower, well, like a Model S does, who
Mm.
cares?
A
Um,
hot hatch with blade motors. Or
Yeah,
that's
yeah, definitely.
oh look, come on, Damo, let's just go kart. Let's just strip it all off and just go battery, four wheels, three motors, a steering wheel, one seat, no windscreen. That's it. Oh, and a helmet.
Don't be
Helmet.
giving Damo any ideas, please.
Oh, and a roll cage. Sorry, and a basic roll cage.
Yeah, that'll
Um,
definitely.
He doesn't need any more encouragement, I don't think.
I'll go to Mike and then James.
Hi guys, yeah, sorry. I've now got about 3 comments to make against all these things. So I've seen a stripped down what should we call it, battery and wheels and motors of a 3 with a cage on it on the net somewhere. So it has been done. Going back, so I think I've concluded from the comments, because I'd seen conflicting posts, that this new Y-ish will not be shorter, because I need a hatch that's about 100 mil shorter and it will fit in the garage. So
That's easy, Mike. Just get some bricks. Just bulk out your garage a little bit. So put the roller door or sectional door 100 mils outside.
And to answer Colin's question, has anybody? Yeah, so we've got iPhones, me and the social director, and she has the preference on the contacts. I guess you know what that means, most of you. And when she's with me, and that failed to occur, probably a couple of weeks ago. And I thought I'd fixed it all by, when she was there. I don't know what you call it when the Bluetooth menu's up. You click the little black person symbol, and it then saves that and all that sort of stuff. So that was like recommitting it to that. But today I received a call with the two of us in the vehicle, and it came directly through my phone and did not patch into the car speakers at all. So there is something fun, and it had never been a problem since I've had it last September. So yeah, there's something funny that's not quite right at the moment.
Cool. James.
Yeah, my understanding is the glass roof is actually a cheaper version of a roof than the tin roof. It's simpler production. There's no paint. So with a tin roof, the glass adds rigidity. So with a tin roof, you've got to add the cross members. They've got to be welded or fused on. You've got to add the headliner. So you've got 3 or 4 different processes going on. Whereas a piece of glass is manufactured, laminated, simply glued in place. And so it's actually a premium thing, but it's a cost negative. It makes the car cheaper to produce, even though the actual glass, the piece of glass, is more expensive than the piece of tin.
So given there's a headliner, is it perhaps they've worked out that it's cheaper overall because they might be able to reduce the overall noise by reducing sound deadening? Like, for example, what wasn't mentioned in that video was, and I think it's pretty well known, that all the windows will be single. They won't be laminated. Sorry, all the door windows. So front and driver and passenger windows will be single pane, not laminated, and that'll be a fair bit cheaper. But maybe as a means of making that less annoying, if you put a headliner, that will dull out some of the other noise. So maybe they've worked out they can actually, maybe it's cost neutral, or there must be a cost benefit, total cost benefit. Otherwise, they wouldn't bother. There's no point in making it look crappier if that's what people's opinions are, that would, on a cheaper product. So like if you can make a cheaper product be just as good looking as a dearer product, unless you're trying to do some manipulation of markets, I don't get. It must be cheaper in some sense, James, but maybe it just
is not much. And you think of the rigidity it adds, the removal of those processes. You got to have headliners built, headliners put in, stiffening bars manufactured, stiffening bars chosen, different process. You got to paint, which is a nightmare. But I think the market manipulation as well. So you got, hey, here's a cheap. People can then recognise, oh, I've got the expensive Model Y. My Model Y's got the glass. Look at my premium Model Y. It's not one of those cheap Model Ys.
Yes.
Yeah. So
it's the Falcon Fairmont.
It's the LTD. With the same car, with a bad, the gear. What the heck was that? Yeah,
I actually had one, so I can't quite remember the difference between a gear and a Fairmont. It had a better stereo, I think.
Yeah, exactly. It was nothing. It was just a bad song.
Yes.
You probably find it's cost neutral, but it's just a way to differentiate and say, oh, I don't want to be seen as driving the cheap Tesla. Look at my premium one with a glass roof.
In fact, Tesla has not ever built a cheap car yet. Should I say
affordable?
Well, a non-premium car. So they're all let's call it a standard car, a non-premium car. All of Tesla's cars have been well, basically ultra premium down to premium. So I guess I've got to be careful. And you're right, James, they're probably deliberately decontenting it in a way that clearly makes it less premium or perhaps not premium for us, for which may be a substantially lower price.
Yeah, if it looked exactly the same, why would I spend $20,000 more?
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I wonder
And-
if
and
they're
then-
oh, sorry.
And people would then go, oh, I don't want people to think I'm driving a cheap car. I'll go and buy the BMW.
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I wonder
Which-
if Tesla's messing with us.
In
Just
which-
put it, because they could knock out, a prototype thing, put it out there, wrap it up, and then everyone.
Oh no, no.
You
Definitely.
really do think?
I reckon that's no.
No?
Look, that's. It wouldn't make any
That-
sense. It doesn't.
No.
It doesn't achieve anything because if it was a joke or something, but no, I think it makes sense. It literally makes sense to decontent
do
a
that.
Model Y. Like I said, I don't think the savings on a deliberately smaller car body actually is as significant as people would assume, given that, Elon Musk always presses on is it called the idiot index? It's the difference between the cost of the raw materials and the cost of the finished product. And the higher that ratio, the dumber you are, because you're just not smart enough to transform it in a cheaper way. So I think artificially reducing the size down purely to save materials I just don't think, because the thing is, most cars have to have brakes, ABS, computers, air conditioning, all that stuff. So really, by making a smaller car, are you going to make a smaller aircon compressor?
No.
Is it worth it doing that? Is it worth doing any of that sort of stuff just artificially to try and save a few dollars on save 100 kilograms of aluminium cost or whatever it is, whatever materials, bit of plastic. Yeah, maybe it just makes more sense to decontent it. And look, that rear screen, that probably costs dozens and dozens of dollars, if not possibly, I don't know if it costs $100, but I mean, that's still saving. That's the cost price. And it's by taking that cost out or that feature out, again, maybe this more affordable vehicle will have half the profit margin of the standard Model Y, but the total addressable market will open up, because it's a non-linear relationship, and they could probably quadruple the addressable market for that product. So therefore still make twice as much money selling something that's got half the margin, if you know what I mean. It's definitely very interesting. And look, we'll find out. One thing that was very clear during the earnings call, which was for us last Thursday morning, was that Tesla are consciously delaying the release of the more affordable model or models until Q4, which makes perfect sense. And they'll probably do that worldwide. And this is purely because of the pull forward of demand due to the evaporation of the US federal EV tax credit, which ends on the 30th of September. I think that's right, end of this quarter. So since the world is flat and you don't want to Osborne things, and they've learnt that from, I think it was Shanghai bringing out the Highland Model 3 ahead of the US bringing out the Highland. And there was a bit of obvious FOMO and Osborne effect, because even though in America you couldn't buy the new Model 3 yet, people knew it was coming and they could see it, and they just simply waited. So obviously, even though the more affordable vehicle could easily be manufactured in Shanghai probably now, it just doesn't make sense to pollute that and self-Osborne. So wait till the end of the quarter, let all the pull through the Model Ys, which I think in America they said you've got to order them by the 14th or 15th of August in the States to be guaranteed to get delivery, so you get your tax credit. Obviously, then there'll be almost no demand in the States for all those other models, and that's the perfect time to release the more affordable Y, and then go off to the races. And obviously, that's probably when it may be available in Australia, presuming that they're making them in Shanghai, which they probably are, because they're certainly making the longer version, the 6-seat version of the Model Y in Shanghai.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Anyone got any questions or comments?
I've noticed that in the store, if anyone's interested, the puddle lights for the doors, the performance ones with the performance badge, are now available. So I, of course, ordered them. 2 pairs of them, actually.
Really, Damo? I wouldn't have thought you'd do that, mate.
They just
that's-
go with the hoodie and the t-shirt.
And the car.
And the car. Excellent.
And the car.
And the car. Yeah, right. Cool. That's awesome. So so you don't get that in person, you have to order it online, I presume, from the app.
Yeah, they're installables yourself.
Yeah. Super easy. Yeah, you just go to the bottom of your door and just clip it out and plug it in, and you're off to the races.
They had the Tesla ones that say Tesla for a while, but now they've released performance ones like in America.
Have you noticed if they've got the non-lensed version, just the plain puddle light, like a light light?
No,
Okay.
they've just got the 2 types of projectors, one for performance and the other ones that spell out Tesla. They've been available for ages aftermarket, but apparently a lot of people were having problems with their windows breaking because the door lights go through the whole circuit or something. It's all CAN or something, and then the aftermarket ones were interfering with the signal and the door was thinking that the window was down, but it wasn't.
Ooh.
So I don't know.
Yeah, right.
You get genuine ones now, and it doesn't happen.
Yeah, because I've got the launch edition new Model Y puddle lights, which, look, I won't lie, they look great,
But they don't do
and
much.
but they're functionally useless as far as doing their job, which is to light up where the puddles are. So I was actually going to go the opposite and just get the standard ones, and just pack the original ones in the glove box for when I get the Cybertruck and trade that car in.
The standard ones aren't very bright, but surely the projector ones are brighter.
Oh yes, but they don't. But they only project a very crisp version of the launch badge, so it doesn't actually project over much of the area of where you can see when you open the door.
Right on.
But still looks great. I mean, like I said, I won't lie, it looks great, especially over a very rough road. But it's form over function. But it does look good, and I paid for it, like we all did. All right. Oh, sorry, I didn't see Trev or Mike. Actually, Mike, you already had a. I'll go Trev first, then Mike. Sorry, Mike, if you're already up first.
No, all good.
Go, Trev.
Yeah, just a couple of quick comments. We did the latest update after last week's meeting because we'd been away, but I did see this week that half of the Bunbury Outer Ring Road is now on the GPS. So I'm guessing the other half will be coming soon. But it told me the other day we were in South Bunbury, sort of coming from the Busso end, and it told me to take half of the ring road and then to try and get an exit. So, and the exit doesn't exist, but yeah, it's obviously getting there. So maybe another month or next update, we might get that other half. And
that'd be good.
The other comment was just that despite ChargeFox saying Warman's still at 3 kilowatts, someone's put up a post that it's at 132 now. So perhaps it's been fixed.
I did see that. Yeah, thanks for mentioning that. That I saw with distinct interest because I actually looked at ChargeFox first and went, oh, really? And then, except for the very last comment on PlugShare, others, including yourself, Trevor, have said, yeah, it's at 3 kilowatts or 2 kilowatts, which is pretty disappointing, or 2.5. But hopefully, well, it seems it's now fixed, which is good. I guess we all wish it just never was unfixed in the first place, but these things happen. Cool. Thanks, Trev. And Mike, it's back to you, Mike.
Yeah, thanks. Sorry, guys, if you probably picked up by now, I'm a bit of a chatterbox. First thing is actually, as it pops into my head, I would like to thank everybody from a couple of weeks ago. The tip or control, or whatever you call it, of merging the cruise control with the current detected speed limit by pressing the right gear lever down in the older vehicles with that is absolutely fantastic. None of whizzing through the wheel anymore. So thanks very much for that, because I was up and down the freeway using my what do you call it, autopilot by Navigate, whatever the correct term is, and that was just so good, just pressing that on to do that. So thanks again, guys. Now my comment is, I don't know, I'm relatively new, as you know, to the Tesla fraternity, and so I don't know a lot of the history, but I did see an excellent video, in my humble opinion, on X, of an interview with one of the original Tesla founders, which I didn't know wasn't Elon. I forget his name, from a lady called Kim Java, who's quite well known.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you saw that, but it was really interesting for me. The history, his excellent roadster there that he had, it looked like something I'd build in the garage. But yeah, if you haven't seen it, Kim Java, and you guys probably know him, but I forget. So it's worth looking at.
Yeah, absolutely. I used to, and it was Martin Eberhard.
Right.
And one thing that is, there's no doubt, if you watch, it's on YouTube. I presume it's on X as well, but it's also on YouTube.
Yeah, I saw it.
And make no doubt, there's no love lost between Elon Musk and Martin Eberhard.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's a lot of things that Elon Musk has said about Martin that are not flattering. And, ultimately, Martin was pushed out of Tesla, and Elon Musk had, effectively assumed full control, so as to make sure that the company didn't go bankrupt before it delivered its first cars. And in fact, the Roadster program was financially disastrous for Tesla, although it was ultimately a technical success. If you go through with what Elon Musk, how he's described the whole process, it was thought that you could just go to Lotus, just use a Lotus Elise chassis, and they would just make the chassis, and we would just fit components to it, and you'd be off to the races. And in the end, nothing could have been further from what happened. I think Martin even says in the interview that it's been stretched by about a foot. There's almost no original Lotus parts from the original Elise, so effectively it would have been cheaper just to build the car themselves, but obviously they just didn't have the skills or means to do that. But it almost sunk the company there and then, before the first cars were sold. And obviously there's a lot of bad blood between Elon Musk and Martin. And, if you look at the interview, I actually watched it. To be honest, I used to like Kim Java, but maybe I'm being grumpy. She just started to annoy the absolute, just annoyed me intensely. It just struck me as a lot of fluff and not a lot of content. But she's also famous for being famous, so that's fair enough. But yeah, it was a rare interview. It's interesting. Yeah. He was unfortunately, I think he's a lot of the answers he gave with respect to things that Tesla were doing were highly coloured by his intense by the intense experience he had in leaving the company, and I dare say it's coloured a lot of his thinking moving forward. So he seemed to. So go, Mike.
I could definitely say that some of his knowledge, in my view and understanding, was a little bit behind the times in some of the upcoming stuff. But but I only watched it because I just didn't know the history of Tesla. I literally didn't know that Elon hadn't sort of founded it, right? And so, you know, yeah, and frankly, most presenters, not all, but it's the normal bell curve. Most of the presenters are average. There's a few really good ones and there's some really horrible ones. Normal bell curve applies for almost anything, right? So yes, all of that. But it was just interesting listening to him. So
yeah, absolutely. And to Kim's credit, actually, no, that interview was quite good. She did a really good job. Like I said, just if you're like me and you used to watch her stuff from, I don't know, 7 years ago, I came to form a belief that fairly early on then that, and you know, her husband's a cameraman, and it just seemed that you were more. She was using every bit of fluff that she could afford to use to entice people to watch her content, and you know, maybe in modern times that's changed, but I've been tainted by her previous videos, which, like I said, it was more about. Yeah, just the fluff than real content. But this interview was different. But like I said, it's quite stark. There's no love lost.
no,
There will never be a reconciliation. There will never be an acceptance of difference of opinions. And the thing too is, Elon Musk never said that he started Tesla,
no, I just didn't
because
know.
it's literally, and what I mean is, like, that was never, he never ever said that, but without him. And the thing too was, Martin sort of said, oh, you know, Tesla's very successful and this, but I would have done things differently. And it's almost like he would have been happier if Tesla wasn't as successful as it is under his stewardship. It's interesting. There's no doubt Elon Musk saved that company in more ways than just the $10 million of initial investment that he put into it. And I mean, we can see Elon Musk's history of every company he's touched has been at the leading edge of all other companies in that field. But yeah, it's really super interesting.
He was in a time warp though about FSD and maybe killing a couple of people rather than the millions that are being killed without it, you know?
Yeah, those arguments just didn't do him any favors, because it's like, if FSD kills half as many people,
Yes,
which
exactly.
means, you know, millions live every year that otherwise would die, why wouldn't you obviously logically conclude that that was a good thing? Like, why would you say, well, it's not acceptable for it to kill us, you know, it's going to kill people? Well, yes, it will. But if it's vastly less, then let's do that, you know?
Yep,
Yeah.
that's it.
He can live in the mountains and be happy. Let's leave him.
Yeah, and let him retire. He's, you know,
Yeah.
he's an older gentleman. He did say he has got some Tesla shares.
Wow.
You know, he might not have that many anymore. He probably, I think he said he actually sold them. He sold a lot of them a bit early, which, well, you know, that's his decision. If I was him, I'd be buying Tesla shares, but that's only my personal opinion rather than selling them. But yeah, anyway, it was interesting. It certainly was. Alrighty. Any other questions or comments?
I got one.
Dane, yes, go.
This is Ask Us Anything, right?
Within reason.
Oops. Hello.
We're planning our next adventure, and we're having a few technical glitches, a few issues, and we've reached out to Toku. There's a Toku, not a Tokwa, and hoping that we'd find ourselves a Harold or a Robin or a Pete or an Aunt Day or someone like that, and we
Yeah.
haven't got very far. Basically, seems Tokwa is one of a kind. So we
Does anyone have any good contacts, good EV contacts in Canada? TOCU is Tesla Owners Club of Ontario.
Oh,
Specifically,
oh yes.
we'd like to hire an EV, probably in Toronto, and drop it off in Vancouver.
That's going to be
And
hard, Shane, because you really like you could get a Churro, but they're just not going to do that. You'd have to get like Hertz don't have many EVs anymore. Have you done the normal sort of the Sixth, the Hertz, the budget if that still exists?
The issue we've had with or one of the main issues we've had with the car rental companies is one, they like you to drop it off where you picked it up, but even in the cases where they're okay with you dropping it off somewhere else, they kind of freak out when we say we want to do the entirety of Canada.
You don't tell them, but don't tell them. You say you want unlimited Ks, and you want to pick up from A and drop at point B, and the fact that you went to drop off at point Z, and the fact that you went through the alphabet, going through every province and city.
The issue is that they kind of look at the distance and just go, no, you can't do that. And it's like, we don't like you doing that in an EV. We don't think it's possible, that sort of stuff. And it's like, well, that's obviously a load of bollocks. So if anyone's got any good EV community contacts in Canada, I'd be very interested to hear them. Maybe drop them in the comments or get hold of me directly if you don't want to publicize it. That'd be really appreciated. And one of the other options we're considering is to potentially buy a car at one end and sell it at the other. If we did that, we'd probably want to go the other way, because apparently there's about a 10% premium in Toronto as compared to Vancouver. But there's effectively stamp duties and taxes and stuff you've got to pay that make it a reasonably expensive exercise to buy a car for a month and sell it a month later. But if anyone knows anyone,
have you looked into the possibility of hiring it in the US and returning it in the US and going through Canada?
One of the things we'd prefer not to do is go into the US.
Good call.
And if you look at if you've seen my social media feed, then you probably understand why I'm a bit nervous about going into the US.
So I do know it's John Dixon, and I do know John. He's the president of TOCU. So
maybe I'll need to reference your name, Harold.
Oh, he won't remember me because I'm just some West Australian. Oh, he might. I haven't seen him since 2019 at the Cybertruck thingo. But I'll try and get a hold of John and say, hey, I'll give him your contact details and maybe you can help out.
That'd be appreciated. I'm not sure who Sarah actually is the one who spoke to someone at TOCU. I'm not sure who she spoke to, but she didn't get very far.
Yeah, right. No, yeah. So it's John Dixon. So I do know, I have met John, but it's still tough because you're going two different cities. That just makes it difficult because you can't get a churro. I would have just said, just get a churro that for some reason has unlimited Ks and just deliver it back. But then that's kind of, you waste a lot of distance because, I mean, you want to go a big swathe of Canada.
The plan is we'll have 4 weeks. Well, 3 weeks by the time we're done with flights. And we're not going to have time to go back. We'll do a one-way trip. There'll be a few bits in there that are quite north, shall we say.
Yes.
Shane, you never know. You can just jump on Turo and look for cars with unlimited Ks, and then as soon as you get matched with an owner, just be upfront with them, just ask them the question and see what they say. And you never know, they may have family, in one of the other towns, and I had a guy do the exact thing with me. He flew into Perth, and they were flying back to Melbourne or Sydney from Busselton Airport. So I actually went in the car with them, and then spent 3 days in Dunsborough, and then picked up the car from the airport. And I did it at I think I only paid, it was hardly anything. I probably won't do that again, but you never know, you might get someone like that.
We're kind of talking in terms of distance. We're kind of talking Perth, Sydney.
Yeah, I know.
Darwin.
Yeah.
Well, here's a theory. Why don't you price up the possibility of trucking the car back to where you got it from? Now, that'll cost, I don't know.
I hadn't thought of that. That's a good idea.
Because, you could just get it delivered back to the owner.
Yeah.
On a truck. And look, that might cost, I don't know, $600 or $500 or who knows?
Yeah. It should be more than. So I had our car trucked to Sydney, and I know the truckers are more competitive in North America, and that was about $1,400. That was 4 or 5 years ago. So yeah, you can, you might be able to. You should be able to get it under $1,000.
Cool.
But your issue will be the kilometres. So, you will find people on Turo with unlimited. I used to have all my cars as unlimited kilometres until I had a few people that took it. I mean, one guy did a 13,000 kilometre lap. I don't do unlimited kilometres anymore. There's still a lot of people that do. If you're
one of the other options we've been contemplating is to do the kangaroo route, Qantas style, and pick it up in one place and drop it off 400 k's up the road, pick up another car and drive that 400 k's up the road, but that sounds painful and difficult.
Yeah, I mean, you could just like I think Pete probably said, there's no harm in messaging someone on Turo going, hey, is this something you contemplate? Because they might, the problem is the car would be stranded, but they might say yes, or it might be that they might want to fly to that place and have a little break and then drive the car back or something for a fee. Or I would explore, because there is a trans-Canadian railway, so maybe freight routes are a lot better across Canada than they are across Australia. So look, if it was only $500 to truck it back or to train it back or something, or combination, well, that would be a winning deal then, because then you could do that.
Yeah. Shane, another thing you could think about doing is approaching one of the national car dealer chains, and that have got dealerships all across the country, and see if you could pre-organise the purchase of the car in, is it Ontario, and where were you going to? Sorry.
It would depend on what we're doing, which direction we go depends a little bit on what the car option is, but yeah.
So prearrange it so that in the city where you're returning it, have them give you a undertake to purchase the car from you at a predetermined price, subject to no collisions or extra damage or something like that, and they might be willing to do that for you and might work.
It'd have to be a second-hand car dealer rather than a.
Oh yeah,
I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not buying a brand new car and then paying the.
No. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Second.
Yeah.
Or even speak to Tesla. I mean, they've got second-hand cars, so they might even be willing to do it. And they've got shops all around the country. So,
Shane, I hear that the original Nissan Leafs go pretty cheap these days.
Don't do it to yourself.
Yeah, I was one of the kangaroo route thing. One of the nice ideas about the kangaroo route idea is that we might hire a Tesla and then a Polestar and then a Silverado and then a Cybertruck and just try all the different ones out as we go to the various different places. But it does sound painful.
Shane, repeat after me. I would just hire a Cybertruck and drive it the whole way.
Well, that would be nice. When you add the extra restriction, it's not happening. It's just not happening.
Shane, just thinking, you've probably got plans of where you want to go, but you can think of Canada like Australia, and this is going to upset a lot of Australians and a lot of Canadians right now. But there's not a lot in the middle. Yeah, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba. There's not a lot in the middle. Yeah, look, I know if you've got time, it's fantastic. Just like the middle of Australia is great. But think of it as two halves. Why don't you fly into Ontario, hire a car, do a loop up to Princess Edward Island, up to Nova Scotia, and back down to Ontario, book a really cheap flight across to Vancouver, and just go up BC up that way. You'll get to see
one of the midway destinations is Yellowknife, which is that doesn't work if you do that. Yellowknife's out in the middle and north.
You could probably loop through that from British Columbia. Because there's a lot of you could think you could go Ontario, you go up through Quebec to like Prince Edward Island to Nova Scotia. You've seen a magnificent East Coast. Fly across to Vancouver, across to Toronto.
Yeah, I was going to say, Shane, I've driven from Vancouver through Alberta up to Yellowknife a few years ago. Quite easily doable. As you can see from that map, Harold's about to share.
Sorry. Yep.
It's closer. It's fairly bit closer to Vancouver than it is to sort of the central states, the central provinces, rather.
Yeah.
So on that map there, you go Toronto and go east, up Quebec, Princess Island, and then you fly to Vancouver and just do that loop up to Yellowknife and then back down the Dalton or something. Back down the American Highway, whatever it is, that comes from sort of near. There's one that runs in the US and there's one that runs in Canada. Two ones that go up north.
Yeah.
Yeah, the highway up to Yellowknife through Alberta is it's a very good quality road. There's no real issues at all. You can get there pretty easily.
So you should do two loops, two-week loops with a cheap flight.
Yeah, well, it'd be more like a week and a half loops by the time we get there and get home again. But
just buy a Cybertruck and
just buy.
Bring it back to Australia.
Just buy. Yeah, and then we'll somehow work out.
Can I borrow your credit card?
Just use one of Harold's communal credit cards.
Actually, I have a confession to make. Because I think FSD is happening soon, last night, just after 10 p.m. Perth time, which is after 12 a.m. Eastern time, I did put on another $5,000 for FSD. So my credit card. So perhaps I could have afforded a Cybertruck until I bought FSD. Sorry, Shane. I had priorities.
So, Harold, did you do your counts? How many you've bought now? Do you know how many FSD?
It's either 4 or 5. So I bought FSD on my Model X and my wife's Model S, and sold both of them and never got that 10 grand back. And definitely bought it on my old Y, which if my wife's new Y arrives before the end of September, which by the way, it's been nearly 9 weeks since I ordered it, and I've still got crickets. So ordered it on the 24th of May, and there's still no VIN, no nothing. And we got until the end of this quarter to get FSD transfer. I've bought enhanced autopilot on my wife's current blue performance Y, which will be, that can't be transferred. And I've now bought FSD. So it's either 4 or 5. So it's either a lazy $40,000 or $50,000 on FSD, and if we're lucky, we'll get it on 2 cars.
So,
Well, we will.
That's a lazy $80,000 or $90,000 between the two of us that Tesla got.
Oh,
We're just true believers, Pete. I guess that's the most charitable way of describing us. As
You get a special version which works better.
yes. Dearie me.
I like my method better. Every time
What's
I got
that?
tempted to just buy more shares. So I never have any money because I keep buying the shares instead. So,
Yes, indeed.
Smart move.
Buy
See,
shares,
see,
kiddies.
see, either way, you have no money. You buy the shares, you have no money. You buy the cars,
yeah,
you
but
have
my my no money method has actually made me money. So
exactly.
I'm just watching it, just waiting, praying, so then I can retire. So we'll get there.
Hi, Harold and Pete and everyone else. Can I ask throw a question for you? Something more
Yes,
technical question here straight away.
absolutely, sir.
Yeah, hi. Look, the question is that I have a bit of a grief with the contact list with Tesla. I had all contact list that is been in the Tesla contact list, car contact list, but my mobile phone has got a different contact list, and I'm trying to actually update the contact list in the Tesla, but it doesn't allow me to do it. I have done many things that they wanted me to do. I have restarted everything and deleted the contact list and reinstall it and did everything. What I really wanted to do is actually from the Gmail contact list, I want to actually, I have installed the Gmail contact list in my mobile phone, which is a Samsung S23. And then from S23, what I want to do is to have that contact list duplicate in the Tesla. Currently, what I
Yes.
have got is a very old list about 1,000 of people. I don't need that list. But I'm trying everything what they suggested me to do, but I'm failing miserably. I can't get it done. So I don't know whether you have had any experience and whether there's any
So,
solution for the
so,
problem.
so when you say contact list, you mean to say that when you go to ring someone or you go to bring up
Correct.
contacts?
Correct.
Well, the thing is that function, the car does not store those contacts. It extracts them from via your Tesla app through Bluetooth,
Yeah.
through a Bluetooth connection with the car.
Yeah.
So when you go into, you've got to go into the menu where it's you. Where's that? That's in the upper right-hand corner of your screen, and you go into is it driver profile? No, it's not calendar sync.
It's I think
It's
some Bluetooth settings, Harold.
yeah. So what you should do is you should delete your phone from your car, or your car from your phone. So you'll see Tesla model, whatever it is, Model 3 or Y,
Model 3.
in your phone.
Yeah.
So under Bluetooth, so you've got to delete that.
I did that. I did all that it is. And also it says that I search on the website, it says this is a common problem for Tesla users. It says very frustrating. And then I think it is get stored. I think cache cannot be deleted or something to that effect. That was there on the Google when I search it. It appears to be a common problem when the
Okay.
new contact list is coming up and you can't actually emulate that contact list in the Tesla.
So when you go to make a call, you normally have contacts, recents, and something else.
Correct.
Does that
and
work
favorite,
properly?
favorite,
Does
yeah,
favorites? So there's
yeah,
a
favorite.
recents. When you show recents, does that show what you recently called on your
Correct.
phone?
It shows, yes,
And then if you look at contacts,
yes,
that list is not what the list is on your phone.
correct.
I think that's
Do-
a Tesla Android issue. I mean, this is far from ideal. Harold might have another solution, but just try a iPhone because I have heard of this issue, but I've never heard of it with an iPhone. It may mean that you may need to just keep a old iPhone in the glove box or something like that.
Right.
No, but you can't do that, Pete, because then you're making and receiving calls through the iPhone, and that's not where your SIM card is. So that's you basically have a dual identity. Look, there is a nuclear option. There is a nuclear option, which is to hard reset your car. The only thing with that is, actually, it's a fairly new car, I think. So you'll lose your trip computer. You'll lose your trip meters. So if you've reserved a lifetime trip, where you get the watt hours per kilometer, that will get reset. But you can do what is effectively a factory reset of your car, and that, if you've Googled and they've said that somehow the car is caching a contact list and it's not flushing it. I mean, before you get to this nuclear option, I'd go to Tesla and say, is there anything they can do? Is this a known issue? Tesla service. But I do believe that if you do a factory reset, that will guarantee that everything is wiped from the car. So there can be it'd be impossible for the car to conjure up an old contact list from some cache, because everything gets wiped. It wipes every single trip you've made. It wipes all your history and your navigation. It wipes your home address, your work address. It wipes all trip meters. It wipes all your radio or Spotify or whatever history or accounts. But it will basically reset the car as if it had just been born at the factory. So that's a nuclear option.
Right.
Presuming that the research you've done has shown that for some weird reason, the car is retaining an old cache that's not being updated through the Samsung version of the Tesla app or something. But I'd still initially, if you haven't already done so, absolutely delete your car from your phone and make sure it's not at all contactable by the car or vice versa, and then relearn it back in and hope that fixes it. But I think the nuclear option would work. It's just that it's a bit nuclear, that's all.
Okay, so if I rang the actually support line, Tesla, they were hopeless. Of course, they couldn't do anything more than what I knew already that I could do. If I take into the service station, do you think that they might be able to help better?
Yes, but they might ask you to. It's difficult. They're not fantastic at doing stuff spontaneously, so they may ask you to
leave the car.
Put in. What you should do is do a service booking.
Right.
Say that your contacts, and that you've checked this, that the contacts that show up in your phone section of the car are different, totally different to the ones that your phone actually has that is connected to the car. And just describe that, just pretty brief, and then they'll get back to you. And look, sometimes these things get magically resolved because someone in Tesla, whether it's someone in Perth or someone in head office or wherever, looks at this case and goes, oh yeah, we know the solution to that. Sometimes they actually fix things over the air without ever seeing the car. So that can happen. It's possible.
Right. Okay.
They actually have a global database of issues, and so ask them if you're not getting anything satisfactory from them. Ask them to consult the database to see if the same issue happened anywhere to any other Tesla owner in the past, and if that issue has got a resolution, they might be able to apply that resolution. But going back to the other issue, if this fails and if the hard reset of the car fails, then it's obviously a Android or your phone issue. So you could either just buy a new phone, another, and hopefully that fixes it. And if that still doesn't fix it, you could try that, an old iPhone, or go to change completely, go to an iPhone. But you could try putting an old iPhone in the glove box. But what you'd do is you'd connect that iPhone via Bluetooth to another user profile. And then when you get into the car with your phone, it will ask you whether you want that profile linked to your phone, and then you can link it. But you obviously need a SIM card, another SIM card in the other iPhone, so you can make phone calls just while you're in the car.
Okay, no, I think I can live with that without going through all this pain. I just thought there's a fixed straight solution for that. I think what I will do is I will try to contact the Tesla and say this is what it is, and then see whether they can. I think you both are right, because this problem has come up before. That is why Google clearly says this is a problem with Tesla. They have said that very specifically. This is a common known problem with Tesla. And so that means other people must have complained before the same issue.
But is the problem isolated
real quick one,
your Samsung, or is it
Samsung? Samsung.
But is it right across Android devices, or is it just Samsung?
I can't recall what the exact sentence was, but when I said that, they said this is a common problem. Some people have encountered similar issue. I think there is a problem with the Samsung. I think Samsung interaction with Tesla. I think there is a problem. It appears to be.
Well, you never know. I mean, that's part of the news. Tesla has committed $16.5 billion to buy Samsung chips.
So yeah, I saw that too. Yeah,
it might be close collaboration going forward.
Yeah.
The issue
possibly
may get fixed.
Yeah. All right.
I think it's slightly solo, but yeah, awesome. No worries.
Thank you so much.
All right. Anyone else got any questions or comments? Okay, if you haven't, I've got an interesting snippet, and the best way to do it is I'll just show you. If you go to Joondalup Electrical Services and have a look at a video that's titled "How to Get More Solar Power Than Synergy and Western Power Say You Can Have." Just go to that YouTube channel, have a look at that video. And what this guy, who is a very experienced, he's in his 50s.
Was that Joondalup Electrical Services, Jason?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, he's my installer. Yeah, right.
Yes. There was a video. There was a video about. He said there was some dodgy install he saw Freo way, and he had to report it into the Examiner. So.
Jason Taylor is his name.
Yes. So
no, he helped fix a lot of issues with the original install here. So yeah, he's very good.
So
he's the guy I put on here, Richard, wasn't it? Wasn't
I was never gonna.
Pretty sure it
was. Was that
going back like 3 years ago? Didn't I put Jason on like 3 years ago now?
Oh, maybe yes, because wasn't he one of your installers? Yeah. No, thanks for that. No, he's really helped. He's a great guy.
So anyway, that video that I mentioned is very interesting because he basically says that if you use, and I'm not recommending you do this, and I'm pretty sure there must be other inverters that do this, hybrid inverters. He mentions a Cellectronic inverter, which is rather eye-wateringly expensive. I think he said it was like 10 grand. But the statement that really piqued my interest was that he said, because the Cellectronic inverter is a series inverter, hybrid inverter, and not one that's parallel, you can basically, with this inverter, put as much solar at the other end of it on your house, on the Swiss, as you like. Which slightly blows my mind, because that's exactly what we all should be able to do, and we should be able to do that with all inverters that have a meter, a grid meter or a boundary meter, smart meter connected to them. So I think the video mentions a job site in 2J, and I just can't remember what the capacity was. I think it was, I can't remember, 15 kilowatts or something. But the point was he could add more panels, more capacity, because this inverter, hybrid inverter, was considered to be in series with the grid. So if anyone's familiar with inverters like the Victron inverters, they have a grid connection, they have a battery, you can have solar MPPT controllers. And what they do is they do their best effort, the inverter, to provide power from either solar or the battery to help the grid. And the idea there is, ideally, you don't draw anything from the grid, but if they're unable to provide enough power, then additional power will be drawn through their grid connection to your house. And like I said, it was remarkable that he basically stated and claims that if you use this inverter and possibly one or two others, perhaps, that have been approved, and bearing in mind, one of the inverters there is one I'm very familiar with, which is a Fronius Gen 24, although this is actually a single-phase inverter. This is the Primo. And it's actually been specifically endorsed or modified by Selectronic, or probably interfaced with their inverter. So this is a grid-tied inverter, but it's tying to this inverter's grid. And as far as this guy alleges, and you've got to take his word for it, that in doing so, you can then have basically as much solar on your house or your site as you like. And I thought that was something that's quite interesting, to say the least.
There's two things that you won't be able to get around. So if your panel capacity is more than about 33% or 133% of your inverter capacity, you won't get STCs on any of those.
Yes. Yep.
And if your inverter is obviously larger than 5 kilowatts, you won't get any feed-in tariffs, so any buyback rates for
correct.
Power back grid.
Yep.
So those are two things that you won't be able to get around. Yeah.
Yep, and they're the two things that matter the least, because with solar panels being so cheap and the feed-in tariff being so low, if you can just have more, the main limitation is winter, and the more panels and more inverters you can have, the better. For the prices you can get them for, unless you buy really expensive stuff. But like I said, up until I saw this video, we were all basically made to believe that you had to apply to Western Power to get permission to inject more than the standard 5 kilowatts, which, I think, Pete, is it still correct that effectively any house can get 5 kilowatts approved? It's kind of like a guaranteed approval.
Well, it's pretty much is. Pretty much, yes. Yeah. No.
I'm pretty sure. And then if you work hard, you can get up to 15 kilowatts approved, which is 5 kilowatts per phase if you have 3-phase, but you have to get approval because they have to determine the capacity at down your street or your suburb or whatever.
You can go up to about 8.4 kilowatts on a 3-phase connection for the inverter before for it to still go through Western Power's automated approval process. And if it's above that, then it's basically it's on a case-by-case basis where a human reviews it. Yeah.
And the human can say no.
Oh, so can the automated process. But,
yeah. So whereas if you take this guy's on face value, if you have an installation that's done a certain way that is deemed to comply with everything that Western Power needs to comply with, then according to him, you can have quite a lot of additional solar capacity on the other side of your house. That's still grid interactive, and you don't have to do anything extreme like go off grid, which is just super interesting. So if anyone's interested, it's in that video, and do your own research. But I thought it was super interesting. Not something that Powerwall is, though. But
with a Powerwall, you can put more solar into it. I mean, it's only a 5 kilowatt.
Yes.
Sorry, limited, but I can have more solar behind it. And so let's talk hypothetically here. If I wanted to get my STSs and my rebates and be completely compliant, you can put a Tesla Powerwall 3 in. You can put the 6.5 kilowatts on the roof on one string. And then a year down the track, I could add anything I wanted to it, my side of it.
Oh, Pete, does that violate your STCs if you add extras to an inverter without claiming STCs on the extras? Does that violate the deal?
So I didn't hear James's initial question. Sorry.
So I get a normal, oversized to the 6.5, so it's normal.
Yep.
I put it on a Tesla Powerwall 3. That is obviously limited, software limited, only putting out 5 kilowatts. However, behind the system, it can charge at 5 kilowatts, put out 5 kilowatts, but it can get 8, 10 kilowatts from solar. So if I had a fully compliant Powerwall 3 with a hybrid inverter installed today, and a year down the track, I wanted to go and put another string of solar on, what would be the problem there?
So will your second lot of panels go over 10 kilowatts in total?
Yes, that would be another 5, 6 kilowatts.
Yeah, so you might not get approved.
What if I put them on myself?
That's naughty. That's not approved.
Yeah, I know.
You can do anything yourself.
No.
You're willing to accept the consequences.
Yes.
No, but I mean, because the Tesla Powerwall will still only be able to put out 5 kilowatts, though, wouldn't it? It would never put more to the grid.
Yeah, but you're single connection, single phase.
Yeah, single phase.
Yeah, so you won't get approved for more than 10 kilowatts.
Right.
And therein lies the frustration.
Yeah.
You can set up the Powerwall, and I'll get to you in a sec, Mike.
Yeah.
You can set up your Powerwall or any inverter for that matter that has a smart meter to never, ever permit a single watt to leave the building ever. So you can guarantee to Western Power that you will never export power ever. But then I think, Pete, they get into this circular sort of argument of, well, if you have 30 kilowatts of inverter capacity for a standard domestic house and an umpteen solar panels on your house and your backyard and wherever else you wanted to put them, they would still deem that there's a threat of instability. Oh, and you've also got battery storage. So you could have umpteen kilowatt hours of battery storage, and Western Power, under their current regulations, will still deem there is a threat of instability if a thunderstorm comes over, and they will presume that the worst case is somehow you are consuming 30 kilowatts of energy on your house. And
from the grid.
No, nothing from the grid. You are self-making 30 kilowatts of energy for your own, and it was being consumed by yourself, and that if for whatever reason your inverter failed or a cloud bank came over, that your house would suddenly, or your system would suddenly draw that 30 kilowatts from the grid.
From the grid, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Even though that is a fallacious argument, because...
Well, it's completely contradictory to their whole ethos, which they say they are energy source agnostic, which this flies completely contrary to that, because if that was the case, there is nothing stopping you or anyone else, and you don't need a permit, you don't need a Western Power approval, you don't need anything to put in a whatever device that will use 20 or 30 kilowatts. So that uses power that does not generate it. So let's say, you put in a welding torch or whatever, right? And let's say, or you put in 3 10 kilowatt air conditioners, right? So now you're using 30 kilowatts. You don't need Western Power approval, and you can turn that air conditioner on and off in an instant, which is the same as a cloud going overhead, which means that it's
except Pete, technically and officially, Western Power have declared that if you have a three-phase system, unless otherwise augmented, it is deemed to only be provided with 22 kilowatts of power, 32 amps, three-phase. That is a standard connection,
correct.
right? So you could have 30, 40, 50 kilowatts of load. Well, no, you probably couldn't, because an electrician would have to do a load assessment of your house and probably work out that that's not possible. However, you can have a 7 kilowatt induction cooktop, you could have a 11 kilowatt car charger, you could have lots of split air cons and a pool pump and a pool heater and lots of other things, which if you all turned on simultaneously, which the presumption is you generally wouldn't, of course what would then have to happen is your 32 amp three-phase circuit breaker, which is your main switch for all new installations and all new upgrades, will just pop, and that will be it.
The keyword is for new, but there's
or upgraded. So if you add something,
of existing connections that don't comply with that.
Yes, exactly. And your boundary fuses. I have an old house in a previous life that, and I think I've said this before. I was asked. It was a virgin block of land. I got power connected for the first time. It was into one of those little hat things, little green hats, bored under the road, up the power pole onto the overhead lines, and they said, "Oh, what power do you want?" And I said, "What have you got?" And they go, "Oh, the standard connection's 80 amps per phase." And I said, "Is there a bigger one?" And they go, 120 amps per phase. And I said, "How much does that cost?" And they said, "Oh, it's the same." So I went, "Yeah, I'll have that, please." So my consumer hat has got 120 amps. It's not mine anymore. 120 amps per phase. But Western Power has, and this was back in the early noughties, have obviously since declared or redeclared that, oh, no, all standard three-phase installations are 32 amp three-phase. And every time you upgrade a panel or you build a new house, you've got to have not a main switch, you've got to have a circuit breaker set to 32 amps three-phase or 63 amps single-phase, unless you pay Western Power to upgrade it at your expense. And you can do that. It costs $400 per kilowatt, I think, roughly. But then, Pete, if you take that argument, you should be able to have 22 kilowatts of inverter capacity.
Yep.
Because at worst, going through a 22 kilowatt main switch, in other words, 32 amp three-phase main switch, but if you had 100 kilowatts of inverter power, as long as it never exported anything and was connected in series with a 32 amp three-phase circuit breaker, why can't you just knock yourself out and have as much inverter as you wanted to waste money on? It's just crazy.
On that not feeding back into the grid thing, Harold, this hadn't occurred to me until you guys were just talking then. My caravan's got a Victron inverter in it, just like yours. There are many, many, many caravans out there in the market that have Victron inverters in them. Now, my caravan, just like yours, I'm assuming, has the little program toggle switch set in the Victron control panel to say just draw in up to 15 amps so that you don't blow the circuit breaker in the caravan park.
The grid limit.
But
the grid limit, yes. Yep.
Yeah, it's got a grid import limit and I've got it set to never export.
Yes.
But there's absolutely nothing stopping me plugging that. As far as I'm thinking about it, there's absolutely nothing stopping me from plugging my caravan into a 15 amp caravan park socket or my house and feeding however much back into it. Like I I can
Yes.
just set the inverter to say, yes, you're allowed to export now, and off it goes.
Oh no, because you're not allowed to export through a plug. Is that right?
You're
Or
not,
maybe
you're
not.
not allowed to, but there's nothing stopping me from doing it.
Oh no, but that's the difference between what you can do and what you are permitted to do legally.
Yeah, but do you reckon Joe, who's got a caravan that he bought from Joe's Caravans, knows that?
Yeah, indeed.
And
Yeah.
anyway,
It's certainly interesting. And I mean, I think we've sort of had similar discussions in the past. It's high time that Western Power obviously modernize their rules, because let's face it, the more solar tied with battery storage that the grid has, the better and more stable it will be.
Now, quickly, Mike, he's waiting, but I've just posted
yes.
in there a link to Western Power saying they've upped it from 5 to 10 kilowatts since July this year.
Oh, okay.
Yes, that's been out for a few weeks now. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, since you commented, Mike, sorry, apologies. You had your hand up very patiently. Yeah, go, Mike.
Oh, that's all good. So, similar but different topic. I read, because I plan ahead and think and take my time and stuff, and I suspect, because you lot are so persuasive, that we might end up with 2 Teslas. And at the moment,
there's no choice, Mike. It's just
exactly.
It is the way.
It is the way. Yes, indeed.
It is the way.
It is the way. So currently, as you might have picked up, some of you have the memories, my garage is quite tight in terms of the stuff I have in there. And so I have to squeeze and sidle down the edge of the 3 to plug it in every time I plug it in. So I'm looking at putting in a better, more convenient charging point. And if I understood, so this is a confirmation question, if I understood a couple of pages on the TOCA site yesterday, if we have 2 cars, and I think I have a 3-phase input to this house, because the main breaker on the panel, not the main external breaker, but the internet has got the 3 poles on it. So I'm fairly sure it's 3-phase. I don't know when it was put in. I haven't looked at it in detail and all that stuff. So I think the highest, if I'm going to spend money, I just go straight to the top. So my understanding, sorry for this long-windedness, is that I put in 2 3-phase sockets to go onto the 2 3-phase tails on our 2 UMCs that are connected to the 32 amp feed that feeds those 3 phases, to allow 2 cars to be charged at 16 amps at the same time.
Okay. Yes, that you can absolutely get an electrician to install 2 3-phase sockets.
I've seen pictures.
And that's permitted. Technically, like I said a moment ago, even if your house is old and has 80 amp boundary fuses and a basic on-off main switch, 3-pole single throw main switch, Western Power has reminded all electricians in an email a few years ago that the standard supply for a 3-phase house is 32 amps 3-phase. It's 32 amps per phase. So by having 2 Teslas charged simultaneously at 11 kilowatts each, 16 amps 3-phase, you are at the top of the entire allocation of that house, ignoring all of the loads.
Yep.
Which technically, if all the other loads were switched off, that is absolutely permissible, but it is against Western Power's regulations. Actually, that's not quite true.
What Mike was proposing is worse than that. You were proposing, as I understand it, to draw 2 32 amp single phase loads using UMCs.
No, 3-phase, three.
Okay, what you talked
using
about was
Bluetooth.
three-phase tail on a UMC, which is not a
Yeah.
three-phase device.
Oh, yes.
What you're actually doing if you do that is you're drawing 32 amps on L1 on both of those three-phase sockets, which will be a disaster, and you really shouldn't
Yes.
do that. You need a three-phase charger, like a wall charger or something like that.
Yeah, thanks, Ken. What you could, though, do is get the electrician to connect L1, the red phase to L1 of one outlet and blue phase connected to L1 of the other socket. So then you'd have at least that rotation. But again, as soon as you start putting 32 amps on one phase, you've already used your entire phase allocation.
Yeah. No, that
which
was
is
my thought.
yeah. So no, please don't do that. Since you're going to be effluent enough to buy another Tesla for very good reasons, which is you'll have a much better life doing it and enjoy it. Just get the easiest would be, the best thing would be to get 2 Tesla wall connectors, which cost $880 or $800 each.
Yeah.
And frustratingly, with those modern ones, you have to connect them to Wi-Fi. It's the only way you can interconnect them. But you connect them to Wi-Fi. You then configure them to, say, have an upper total limit, current limit of, say,
24
actually, knowing the way you use your cars, you could just set them to 16 amps, quite frankly, 3-phase, so that if one car's plugged in, it gets 16 amps 3-phase. If both cars are plugged in at the same time, they will get a combination, not necessarily a 50-50 split. I think Tesla's intelligent enough to actually work out how long it's going to take to charge both cars, and it will split that allocation in order for both cars to finish at the same time. So if one is more empty than the other, it'll give a bit more power to the more empty one so that they both finish at the same time. Or you could change it to like 20 amps. So you say the rest of the house can use 10 amps per phase on top of the 20. If it's the worst case of 2 cars at the same time, that is so much cleaner. Look, it's not cheap. It's not the cheapest, but but compared to a UMC, which is single phase, you've got to use a tail. You've got to pay $100 for a tail or $50 for a dodgy tail. Blah blah blah, whatever. Just get the $800 wall connectors, hook them up to Wi-Fi, set an overall policy of 16, 20 amps total system. If only one car plugs in, it'll get 11 kilowatts anyway, and you'll be happy.
You don't really need 2 chargers, just one 3-phase charger's more than enough to share.
And my wife and I do that too.
James, you're probably right. I was just thinking about it, and that's why I come on and ask, the options are. Thanks, Gary. I can see you nodding your head there because I have you in the relevant mode. It's just like I was thinking, that's probably quite cheap relatively, what I was thinking originally. But I didn't really understand that Nasty Western Power limited you to 32 amps coming into your house.
Oh, no. Well, yes, they do. But there's nothing stopping you from contacting them and say, I want my house upgraded to 64 amps 3-phase. Yeah, and they will say
400 a kilowatt.
well, yes, because what they'll say is, the cabling going through is the correct size, the boundary fuses are the correct size, but we will now insist on allocating more capacity at the substation on your behalf, and we'll invite you to pay for that. Yeah, basically.
Yeah. No.
But actually, like James said, I mean, actually, my wife and I do the same thing. We only have one charger, and we have 2 cars. And to be quite honest, you just flip flop between one and the other, and it solves everything.
We've got three cars, and we are only on single phase, and we only charge between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. and we manage it. So you can do it.
I was just figuring, like, if I'm going to spend the money, I'll put the main trunk cable in as high as I can pull.
Yeah.
And put the sockets in as high as I can pull. But I didn't appreciate some of the subtleties. It wasn't clear to sight that these subtleties apply. like overall limits. And yes, I had completely forgotten there's other users in the house besides the cars.
That's right.
Yes. So just to nail this point, if you have a three-phase house, please don't use a UMC with a 32 amp tail, because by definition you're effectively violating your wiring rules anyway, unless you get the house upgraded through Western Power.
What,
If you've got a three-phase house, if you've got a single-phase house, no problem, sort of, because single-phase houses on the Swiss, their standard connection. Sorry, in many areas of the Swiss, like Perth and major centres, is 63 amps single phase. If you're in Meriden and other places, you just have to contact Western Power, because they've had a trial and they've proven that yes, they can supply 63 amps, but you've got to get an electrician to make sure that the connection from the pole or whatever to your house, that the wire is thick enough. Otherwise, you need to get an electrician to upgrade your link from the pole to your house if you're single phase and you've only got 32 amps single phase. And the reason why I know that is there's a gentleman in Meriden, what's his name? He's got a Nissan Leaf a Hyundai Kona, and he was charging it at 32 amp single phase, and of course his house has other loads, and he popped the boundary fuse twice, and Western Power came round and said, if you do it a third time, we're going to charge you money for it, so stop it, because his whole supply for this house was 32 amps single phase.
Yeah. No, I need to do something, because like at the moment, this house only has like 2 loops for all its GPOs, which I'm obviously plugged into for the Tesla at the moment. And so like I've had to tell the family, we had the Tesla on, and then the missus put the clothes dryer on, and I turned that noisy little heater down that I've got here that you might hear in the background in winter sometimes. And that's a kilowatt. I have it on its low setting, but it's still a kilowatt. And that tripped the breaker.
Funny that.
Yeah, because it was pulling, the full 10 amps out of the Tesla, and then the I don't know what the clothes dryer pulls, but it's probably 2 kilowatts plus.
You need to bring your house into the 21st century there, Mike.
Oh yeah, look, this is what I don't understand. Like, it's got a 3-phase braking, it's got shitty rest of it.
Yeah, don't worry. My mother's house in Hammersley, built in the early 80s or late 70s, had wire fuses.
Oh yeah,
so
that's all right. Just put nails in there.
That's exactly right. James, you got your hand up.
Yeah, just these cold mornings. What is it about the app on the Tesla? I put an image into the chat. It's freezing cold. You open up your app. You go to put the heater on. You tap the seat, and it comes up with that auto or heat.
Let me just.
So you can see how the little pop out grey has heat or auto.
Yep.
It's so frustrating, because if you try to tap the steering wheel, that heat or auto pops up over the seat. Then you try to tap the seat, and you can't do it. And then the whole thing goes off. What is auto? Can I just...
Yeah, so auto is if your car is really cold and you've got your temperature. So in your case, you've got your temperature set to 25. So it would then put your seats on high. Although no, actually, that's normally if you see what you can do is you can set each seat to be on the front. You can set them as heat, cool, or auto. And if they're on heat, you can set how many sausages you want. And that's just manual. That's just manually operating. But if you put it to auto,
the bacons.
Yeah, the bacons. You can if it's on auto, the car will infer what it thinks it needs to get it comfortable according to the temperature you set it at, and according to the interior temperature, which you've got as 17 and outside 13. So if you had on auto at 25 degrees cabin and indoor was 17, you'd have 3 bacons running on everything.
Yeah, those controls are even worse on a car with ventilated seats as well, because you've got 3 buttons to avoid.
Yes.
But it's
So
most frustrating. 'Cause
just mash auto and it'll work.
all right, yeah, because you get in the morning, you all I want to turn steering wheel on, seat on, and move on. Because you're doing 14 things. You're trying to pack lunch, get kids off, doing everything else, and then you're standing there mashing your phone.
Yep.
And just get hot. One button, please.
Just mash auto on everything.
Yeah,
It'll
okay.
work it out.
It'll
Yeah.
work it out. And
Yeah.
if it's hot for whatever reason, and you had ventilated seats, it'd make them cool as well, or at least feel cool. But then also, if you use manual, please don't forget, because then you'll wonder why your rear end is overly hot and uncomfortable, and you work out that it's been on for that last 10 minutes of your drive, and you're a bit too hot now.
Poor man's
But-
massage.
Turn everything
Yeah,
off.
massage with FSD supervisor will work really well, because they'll be catatonic.
And for Shane, I put a Eastern Canadian loop and a Western Canadian loop Word document as written by Grok.
Very good. If Grok can work out how to buy a Cybertruck cheap in Canada, that'd be pretty good too.
I reckon the best way to buy a cheap Cybertruck is to borrow Harold's credit card.
Ah, dearie me.
Surely they've seen your YouTube, Shane. They'd be throwing ones at you, wouldn't they?
Just wait for Harold to buy a Cybertruck, and after he's done 9 loops in it, you can get it cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah, like actually, Mike, I don't know if you're
Might be a
interested
bit
in
wet.
I've got a pretty cheap, slightly used traditional Model Y performance.
Problem won't fit in the garage. That's the problem.
Ah, don't worry, just a sledgehammer will fix that.
In the first place.
Ah, dearie me. Alrighty, any other questions or comments in the last almost quarter hour of this awesome program?
A reminder about the casual meetup on Sunday.
Oh yes.
At the Mighty Quinn.
Yeah.
Very
Do we have
good.
to report coming?
No, it's casual meetup, so you just turn up.
Cool, because the social director wants to come along, and we're on the right side of the river, so it's all cool.
Yep, that's why we rotate the meetup places to
Yeah, we
appeal
can't
to
have-
most of the Perth audience, not all of WA.
I don't know. We had a casual meetup at the where was it, Pete? Barclay Homestead. 2 of us turned up.
That's right.
That's right. Harold, you and I have had a casual meetup at Quiet Life in Geraldton more than once.
That's right, Ken.
Exactly.
I'm happy to host the next one in Geraldton. Come on up. By the way, just on that note, Jurien Bay, they fixed the comms, so annoyingly, I have to pay for it again now.
Oh no! Oh, that's a
Scott
shame.
Spinnerly was really happy that the comms were broken because it was free, but now you have to pay for ChargeFox for it again, which is fine. So hopefully the confusion about Jurien being offline is now past.
So on that matter, I saw the chit chat on Facebook about this. Now, my understanding is like from where I am to Geraldton is like 412 kilometres. So why are people charging halfway there? Is it because they're in really old cars that don't have the battery thing? Because like even my car, which is old, will get there in one shot. I don't get it.
No, it won't, because you got the chip seal road, so it's shocking how much less range you get compared to, say, driving on Perth suburban roads.
So the Indian OC is chip sealed, is it?
Yes, 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 it is.
And brand's even worse.
Yeah, I know, brand.
But
yeah.
I drove it this morning, and I drove it last week. And yeah, my rear-wheel drive Model 3 Geraldton to Lancelin, I arrive with less than 10%, and so I top up at Lancelin. And when I'm northbound, I usually stop at Jurien just for long enough for a coffee, and then on you go. But yeah. If you've got a long range, you can sometimes squeak it depending on the wind, but I would still plan to stop.
And if you go from north to south and you hit a sou'wester,
Oh yeah.
and you haven't got much traffic in front of you, like you're not following a slow truck or something, you're going to be in trouble. unless you're at the very northern part of the northern suburbs, and you might just squeeze it. This is presuming you're doing the speed limit.
Is there any
That's
updates
like
on that Greenheads supercharger?
No, there's no sign of progress at all.
No. And annoyingly, no sign at any other either, where they were meant to
really?
have started by now. Yeah.
That was supposed to have been started quite a while ago, Ken. Like they had council
Yeah.
approval, NRMA, that is.
Yeah. Last time I looked, there was no action in the car park. And annoyingly, what's the Southern brand one is gone.
Cataby.
Cataby
No?
is gone because the Roadhouse owners didn't want it because electric vehicles would catch fire in their forecourt and same
course,
nonsense
yes.
as Calbarry. So they're finding a new site for Cataby, but yeah, Greenhead's meant to be coming, and we really want it to be coming, and it would make me less grumpy about congestion charges.
Speaking of which, has anyone in the room experienced a notification that said if you keep doing this in 5 minutes, you're going to get a congestion charge? Because
we did charge we charged the S the other day and had nothing, and then plugged in the X, and then as soon as Emma plugged in the X, it said, yeah, you'll get charged congestion charging if it's above 80%. So
where were you charging?
Sorry, Coogee.
And how many cars were there? How many stalls were occupied?
I think she got the last bay. I think there was one that wasn't working, and I think she got the last bay that was available. So it was, it was full.
Right. But sorry, you said you had two cars out at the same time, almost?
No, so since we got the update that congestion charging was a thing, I think I went there in the S and got nothing.
But what was the occupancy of Coogee?
It was like one or two cars.
Right.
And then with the X, as soon as Emma plugged in, it was it came up straight away saying, if you go above 80%, you'll get congestion charge. I might have taken a screenshot of it actually.
Yes, but was she above 80%, or was it just warning that if she got?
It was warning. Sorry, I should have probably listened to your question. It was warning that if you did stay above 80%, then you get congestion charging.
And she was set to higher than 80%.
I think it automatically set it to 80% because that site has done that. Whenever whenever any of the superchargers have been busy, it's set it to 80%.
Yes.
But you could just override it.
Gotcha.
Which is sometimes quite handy on the old S and X because they take so long to charge that sometimes it's quite useful if you're like, well, I'm not finished shopping, or I want to go for a walk or something, which is exactly what it's trying to prevent.
Precisely, because it's trying to prevent people from gaming the system.
That. And actually, we both think it's a really, really good idea because it's really going to free superchargers.
Okay, because when I did it last week, not the weekend we just had, the one before, when it just got introduced, I was at Kojonup, and the superchargers, the app and the car thought that Kojonup was full. There was one stall out. There were 4 stalls. There was one stall faulty. There were 2 cars there, including mine. So there was one available, but the app and the car said it was full, and there was no charge, no threat of charge. I was charging above 90% because I was towing a caravan, so I had to charge up beyond 80%, and there was no charge. So perhaps what's happened is Tesla's had maybe a 1 week grace period, and maybe they're starting to now warn people. But I guess I'll restate the question. Has anyone in this room actually properly experienced a true threat, well, apart from you, Richard, of being charged a congestion charge?
Yes, I did.
Oh, cool. Colin, so tell us about it.
So I was at Eton mid last week, and I pulled in. I think there was maybe 1 bay left after I joined, so it was pretty full. And while we were sitting in the car eating and charging, it popped up with a thing saying, if you go above 80% or stay once you finish charging, that you'll get charged a congestion fee.
Awesome.
And then when we hit 80%, it popped up again and said, you're now above 80%, so I went and unplugged the car.
Cool. And you got 5 minutes from when that notification probably comes up to
Yeah,
actually
I
being
don't remember
charged.
seeing anything about 5 minutes specifically, but we were planning to unplug anyway.
So what if you need to go to 100%? You get charged extra now on top of your kilowatt.
Yes, you do. And I forget who it was. Someone's actually plotted this out. So if your car is at a low SATA charge and it's absorbing, let's call it 150, 200 kilowatts, Tesla's earning, I forget what it was. It was like 70 cents a minute or something like that, because of the rate at which you're putting in kilowatt hours into your car. So all that Tesla's really done is it's ensuring that if you're occupying the site, well, apart from the fact that they want you to go because you're slowing down the total power delivery, especially if it's busy and someone else could be using that power more effectively, it's sort of, if you graph it, having the 50 cent per minute surcharge on top of your lower rate of charge sort of returns the net return of the site to its normal 70 cents per minute earnings. So yeah, it is true, Damo, and that's where we've advocated as a club that Tesla exempt end of line superchargers. So for example, Lancelin, because look, you might be towing something or whatever, and you want to go as far as you can away from the supercharger. It's less than some people just have to go beyond 80% to make the journey. Not through lifestyle, but because of practicalities. So end of line superchargers, Lancelin, Albany, if you want to go to Esperance, say,
Margaret River. There's nothing
Yeah,
past Margaret
well, I
River
guess-
to go to Augusta.
Yeah, that's right. And you can't make it to Albany from Margaret River. Or maybe you can actually. Well, I don't know if you can make it at 80% on the standard range car. So I think there are certain cases where there should be a little bit more flexibility, perhaps. And there's lots of ways you can skin that cat. You could maybe have every car has X number of get out of jail free cards. Like you might be able to invoke, I really need this, and maybe you can do that. Maybe you can have, I don't know, half a dozen of these credits a year, say, which would make people happier. Something
Can I just
like
ask a really obvious question? I think I know the answer to, but I just want to ask it anyway. Say you pull up to a supercharger, you're the only person there, you're charging, and then 5 other people turn up. At that point, would it then say,
I think so.
You're
yes.
going to get hit with congestion charging? Okay.
Yes, I think so. And that's the beauty of having notifications is it would then say to you, actually, now your supercharger is busy, and if you persist beyond 80%, there'll be a congestion charge. I'm pretty sure it's very fresh. Obviously, one of us committee members is going to take it for the team and explore the full extent of how this works. Being evil little humans, we're going to do things like, if it's congested and you've got 5-minute grace period, we go up to 4 minutes and 59 seconds and disconnect, and then see what happens if you reconnect. Now, if you reconnect, do you get instantaneous congestion charge, or do you get another 5-minute grace period? Because for every 5 minutes that you wait, you get about 5% extra battery. I guess it's a question that people will ask, and someone needs to answer it.
Next casual meetup at Kings Park.
Because
I agree with it, but yeah, Harold, end of line ones and that makes it a bit hard when people have to go to 100.
Precisely, yes.
I'd think 90% would be more. I don't know. It would make a big difference, but hey.
Yeah, I wonder if people know about this yet, because I know this
At the moment, if I drive northbound to Geraldton and Jurien is offline, I need to charge to 100 at Leno to get home. And I'm not paying congestion charges if I need to do that. Once they put Greenhead in, you beauty. I drive to Greenhead, charge to 50%, I can get home. So as Harold's advocating, basically, as the edge moves north, I'm very happy once Green heads in for Lancelin to have congestion charge. In fact, I'm overjoyed. That's what should happen. I'd be very happy for Lano to continue to have idle fees, because that makes sense. But once Green heads in, then it can become the edge, and then we move further out. But yeah, that's what my position is.
Yeah, I think I was just trying to butt in. I was floating in Carrinup today, and I noticed that the Tesla chargers were all but one full. And what was interesting was that in the two green chargers, I call them, that are next door, you guys probably know about them, they actually had Teslas in where they used to have lots of other random EVs in there. So I'm thinking a few guys who are doing several hours shopping or something have just parked their Teslas there to charge slowly and not get the congestion tax at the Teslas next door.
Oh, and also the most enticing thing for them is I think it's free, isn't it? I'm pretty sure it's still free.
It's free for half an hour, then it's 30 cents.
Oh,
yeah, not anymore.
It used to be free when I bought my Tesla, which was excellent. But then after about 3 months, they changed it to what it is now.
But hey, that's what those AC chargers are for. They're for if you want to stay for a while.
Yes.
And yeah, so they've now changed them to a pretty nominal fee. So yeah, they're still good to use if you're there for a while.
Yeah. So going back, Carol, can I just labour this point? How can you? I presume when you did your 517 kilometre stretch up north, I presume that was a metal surface. What do we call it? A rough surface. I call it metal.
Chip seal. The chip seal.
Yeah,
yep.
Chip seal. So how come you got that then? Was it just because you had the wind behind you or something?
Oh, I drove it at 85 kilometres an hour.
Ah, okay. Right, thank you. Enough said. There's a big difference
when I did a
TLP and 400, isn't there?
Yeah, and when I did a 450 kilometre leg, I also had to do it at 85 kilometres an hour because I had probably about 20 kilometre an hour headwind. So yeah, you've just got to adjust for the conditions. And like I said, frustratingly, my car actually says when I'm at 100%, it has a indicated range of 520 kilometres, which it can do on the Mitchell Freeway in traffic at the speed limit or close to it. But on the Chip Seal Road, all the bets are off. And there was a short stretch in my previous Model Y near Carnarvon where I was watching the power using the sexy buttons interface or whatever, or scan my Tesla, the instantaneous power, and I transitioned from a smooth bit of tarmac to a chip seal section, and the difference in power consumption, which is effectively the same as range difference, was 30%. Just from silky smooth road to rough chip seal. And and look, petrol cars and diesel cars have exactly the same effect. It's just that people just don't notice.
Yeah, no, well, you do, but I used to go from Whyalla to Adelaide and take it at 80 or so to see what the maximum fuel consumption or minimum fuel consumption I could get, especially when there's a big, strong northerly behind you.
Yep. So it's just that EVs are very good at measuring it very precisely. And unfortunately, the WLTP testing standard, which is not a test, it's actually a simulation. It's a formulaic expression, presumes that you're driving slower and on average roads in, well, what Europe considers worldwide, which is smooth, and that just doesn't align with outback driving, which is why you get the disparity. So 500 Ks on a good day, 300 Ks on a really bad day, and that can be your dynamic range.
I didn't realise it was that much.
Yes. Yeah, 30%, it was on the nose, 30% difference between... In fact, I've actually noticed on long trips, like I've said before, from Sydney to Melbourne, you can get on the Hume Highway where it's all concrete or tarmac, usually either. The efficiency, the aerodynamic efficiency is astonishing. Where it falls down is the rolling resistance. I've banged down the Hume Highway at 110 k's an hour and gotten 150 something watt hours per kilometre, and that's just astonishing. You know, between Malaga and my place on Reed Highway or Tonkin Highway and Leach Highway, I've gotten 125 watt hours per kilometre on a 30-kilometre journey doing the speed limit. It's just nuts. But it's on silky smooth roads.
Yes.
Alrighty. We've hit the 2 hour mark. So I'll call last drinks for anyone that's got a final question or a comment. Or not. Alrighty. So, Pete, how would you take out an awesome show like this as if I didn't already know?
As always, stay safe, stay sustainable, and stay ahead of the curve.
The best way to do that is buy a Tesla, join TOCWA, and ask us anything about accelerating the world's transition to sustainable energy and abundance. Look forward to seeing you all on this Sunday's casual meetup at the Mighty Quinn at 11:30. And whether we see you there or not, I really do look forward to seeing you on next week's episode of TOCWA's Ask Us Anything. Good night, everyone.
Hello.
Good night, Harold. Thank you.